Hey everyone, this is Cole, and I just wanted to let you know that this episode we recorded with some lower quality equipment. Since I've been on sabbatical, we've been using just some cheaper microphones that I've had lying around. And I think it shows in this episode. So please forgive us for the sound. That's not ideal, but we appreciate you guys listening no matter what. I'm also not feeling great this week. I've been sick the past couple days. So while I normally would have said, hey, Noah, let's re-record, that just wasn't in the cards. So we still have an episode for you. Unfortunately, the quality is not up to what I would like it to be, but I appreciate your guys' understanding there. So thanks so much for listening anyways. You guys are amazing. I can't believe you guys listen to this podcast. So we love you so much. And with that, I hope you enjoy episode 12.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cole and Noah, our friends, the podcast.
Woo! 12.
Or season 2, episode 2.
I think it's
Or season 3, or season 4. Maybe we just
one episode seasons.
We have the podcast with the most seasons on Apple Podcasts because every season is one episode.
We just go the route of like Stranger Things or Sherlock. Every episode is like 3 hours long, and
The Joe Rogan.
The Joe Rogan podcast.
The Noah and Cole are Joe Rogan podcast. So elk meat.
Did you know? Okay, have you heard of like? I think it's Jordan Peterson. I know other people do it, but I discovered it via Jordan Peterson. He only eats meat, like literally only eats red meat. That's the only thing he eats. Nothing else.
Just like
Ever.
legitimately just red meat.
Just red meat. He doesn't eat any fruits or vegetables. He doesn't eat any fish or chicken. It's just red meat. That's it. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, anything. Always red meat. You ever heard of this?
No.
No.
He's going to have a heart attack.
I know. I'm like, how are you alive? How does that work? But I guess it's a thing. I was telling Kylie about it, and she was like, oh, yeah, that's like the carnivore diet,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it sounds
But even
crazy.
still, that just sounds like so much. That's probably got to be just the most violent bathroom experiences for him. That's got to mess up your stomach.
You're going to war.
Maybe
every
not.
time you go to sit
I mean, have
down,
you heard
dude.
of the guy Liver King?
Liver King? He's that like jacked dude, isn't he?
Yeah, I wonder if he's natural.
I don't know. I saw it. This is funny. I saw him responding to Joe Rogan saying there's no way that guy's natural. He's definitely on some sort of PEDs. And I was really impressed with his response, actually. He was like, I am just floored that Joe Rogan would even be like mentioning me and talking about me. Like, that's such an honor and a privilege and whatever. Like, everything I do is, I think, then he went into like, yeah, I'm just totally natural, but what an honor that Joe would even mention me. I was like,
I'm
oh,
definitely
that's
interested
good for
by
you,
him.
dude.
He
for your
seems like a very
response.
educated guy, but then I listen to him on certain podcasts, and every other word out of his mouth is the F word. Which, not saying if you say the F word, you're uneducated.
I am. You uneducated lunkheads. No, I'm kidding.
It's just like, I feel like when every other word is effing, it's like,
Yeah.
is that, like, can you not think of any other word? So just every other word is the F word. It just, to me, I don't know.
It
So
is
I'm like,
a turn off.
Maybe you're not as educated as I thought.
I just see the dude's midsection, and I'm like, whoa, you're built, but like, I don't know if I want to be built like that.
Yeah, each of his abs looks like a bicep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, each ab looks like a 8-ounce sirloin.
My recommendation this week is discover the Liver King and form your own opinion about
It's
the man.
He always talks about his salads that he eats, and it's like pork rinds. He also went to some tribe in Africa and drank an entire like 12-ounce glass of blood.
Oh, gross. So what's his deal? Does he just eat liver? Like, what's his? Why is he the Liver King?
Well, because he's the
Does
liver
he
king
live
because
in
liver is
Liverpool?
king,
Oh,
and he supposedly,
liver is king.
so like supposedly he doesn't allow his cell phone in the house really.
Oh, good for him.
His bed is just wood plank. He basically like built himself off of these like 7 ancestral tenants or something like that, and
Sounds like a man with demons.
yeah. And so like every day he wakes up, he goes outside, he walks outside barefoot, he goes for runs barefoot, he goes everywhere shirtless. He gets sun on the skin. He hasn't been to the dentist in years. Doesn't shower.
Is that a point of pride? I haven't seen my dentist in decades. Supposedly,
I don't know how he supposedly doesn't brush his teeth.
Oh, dude.
Or at least with certain things, but his teeth look great. So I'm like, I feel like there's no way.
He's doing something. Some things.
But yeah, so he eats like liver and bone marrow, and like I'll show you after this. I'll show you like a snippet of his like what he eats.
Yeah.
Because he'll like on TikTok or Instagram, he'll just post what he eats, and so like this is him eating a cow heart, a bovine heart, a raw bovine heart. There's videos of him just eating tons of liver. There's him eating bull testicles. He says his diet is the diet of his ancestors. He sleeps on supposedly like a wood bed. Sleeps on the floor. He's got a really nice house, but he takes, of course, ice bath guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, drank an entire cup of blood. Oh no. He eats bone marrow. This is a video of him drinking 51 shots of blood.
Oh, dude. That's just gross.
He does ridiculous workouts, though. Like, you'd be like, wow, okay. Because the things he does, he has pretty intense workouts. Obviously, loves guns. Doesn't eat any traditional foods. So, like, there's videos of him, like, blowing up bags of Doritos. Which is funny.
I could get behind that. That'd be fun target practice.
Yeah, so
Doritos.
he does that.
You ever shot a watermelon before?
No.
Have you ever shot a gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother is basically polar opposites to me. And loves guns, all things guns, hunting, hiking, everything like that. So he would go anytime he was back in town, he and I would go shooting at his wife's family. They have some acres out in Oakland, Iowa. So we'd go out there and just shoot. So yeah, I've shot a bunch of different guns. I shot handguns, shotguns, assault rifles, things.
The
like
whole
that.
thing,
yeah.
The kit and the caboodle.
The kit and the caboodle both.
Shot them both.
Oh, there he is drinking another cup of blood.
Wow,
doing sit-ups underwater. Eating potatoes. Eating liver.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is like one of his meals. Whole bunch of rice, potatoes.
I mean, the guy is mountainous.
Yeah, I mean he is built. Like I said, each of his abs looks like a steak you could get at Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he is natural, good
Here's
for him.
Here's the real question: does he take creatine?
Yeah, from liver,
or is it all in the blood?
It's for him. He says like a
but
lot of his
the
stuff is natural because it just nothing but the blood of cows.
Oh, geez.
What I drink. So, anyways, Liver King. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, maybe people who listen to this will know because he's a big social media guy.
Yeah.
That's what's funny is he's always like, don't bring your phone in your bedroom. Don't bring your phone. Put your phone in a Faraday case, like to block out the radioactive waves and things like that. Doesn't have a TV. He has 2 kids too. And I'm like, I mean, good for them. They're probably growing up in a world that doesn't need that. But at the same time, I'm like, man, it's got to be boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he also has a video where his son is eating like raw something from a cow and throwing up. Or that he'll just eat like a raw egg in a bed of raw hamburger meat and like show his whole family eating that. And so
I've eaten a raw heart before, a small one.
It's so gross.
It was a dove.
Why?
I used to go, we would go dove hunting every, I think it was Labor Day weekend.
And so you just killed a dove and were like, give me the heart.
Yeah, pretty much. I shot one and like had heard like people used to do that, and so I was like, why not? I was a teenager. I feel like trying this. This sounds like fun. I was like, Dad, can I eat the raw heart? And he's like, sure, I guess. I can't promise you won't get sick. And I was like, all right.
How was it?
It was fine. I don't remember what it tasted like. I remember thinking, oh, okay. It was the size of like a black bean. You know, it was really,
okay, so not
small.
huge. Okay.
No, doves are like, after you skin a dove, there's not much there. The actual, like, the only meat you can really salvage is off the breast, and that is maybe like half the size of your fist. It's small. So for you to like make a meal out of doves, you gotta bag like 10 or 15 of them.
Huh.
So, but after years of hunting, we finally figured out like how they really, like, where to go. You want to catch them if you're able to. We would hunt in a pasture, and like during the day, especially in dove season, if it's a day or two after the start of the season, they are super scarce because they get really gun shy. They're like, oh shoot, things are shooting at us, right? And so when they see things moving around, they will avoid you like no other business, right? But at nighttime, not nighttime, like as the sun is starting to set, which is just minutes before you are no longer legally allowed to hunt.
Yep.
They'll start coming into roost, especially around small bodies of water. And we were on my grandparents' pasture land, and he had like a tiny pond for the cows to drink out of. And we would just sit there. We'd go out there with 5-gallon buckets. We'd just sit on them, and they'd start coming over the hill. It was like, it felt like it was in like a military documentary. It's like people were coming over the hill, and they had no idea there were guns at the bottom waiting for them. Yeah, and that's it. You're firing like crazy. They're coming over in droves, and you're just like, boom, boom, and you'd hit one. And it was so hard to like ignore the temptation to try to hit another because they just keep coming, but you've got to track the one that like came down, and we didn't have like hunting dogs or anything. So you're like going to get one and telling everybody, you know, where you're at, because you don't want a bunch of guys running around like, I'm just chasing a dead bird while like 3 other dudes around me have shotguns. Yeah.
That's what we call pulling
a Dick.
We were both going to say Dick
yeah.
Cheney. Wow. We at the same time, Cole and I both looked at each other and almost both said pulling a Dick Cheney. Literally the exact same verbiage.
Yep.
We were both going to say the same.
We are from the same time.
Side note, you said about the half size of your fist, and for whatever reason that popped into my mind, the size of Brock Lesnar's hands.
Oh. Are those the size of his hands?
No. Brock Lesnar, so I guess he wore like a 4XL size glove in the UFC. Wow. His hands are gargantuan. Big. And I don't know why that came up, but no, your hand is probably half of his hand.
Mine's half the size of his hand.
Yes.
And a dove's breast is half the size of my hand.
Yes. So Brock Lesnar's hand is about the size of a dove.
Oh.
I don't know. It's probably bigger than that.
It's much
bigger. He also most recently was at WWE SummerSlam, and he drove a tractor to the ring because he's farm boy Brock right now.
Oh.
And halfway through the match that he was in, lifted said ring with the tractor. So it was hardcore. It was so awesome.
Dude, that's wild.
Cowboy Brock. Dude, he's another man.
He came to fight, and he brought the farm.
Dude, he's an animal. Brock Lesnar?
Yeah?
Have you ever seen him?
Nah, maybe.
Dude.
I don't know. I know the name, but I don't know.
He legitimately looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Goro! Dude.
You know who that is, right?
I would if I saw him.
He's the massive forearm.
Okay, yeah.
Giant goblin looking
I
man.
had Mortal Kombat when it was on Super Nintendo, because I grew up with the Super Nintendo.
This man is like 45 years old.
Oh, dude, yeah. Holy smokes. He means business.
He is just an apex predator.
Brock
Lesnar. This is him like a couple years ago. So that's him, not like the picture I just showed you is him not like
not as big as he is now.
Yeah, so he just
filled out.
And like I said, he's like 45 years.
Clearly been working.
He's
on
exactly
his chest.
45 years old.
Wow.
6'3", 286 pounds.
There you have it, guys. Age is just a number. You too can look like Goro from Mortal Kombat in your old age. Not that 45 is old. Not that,
To quote Pastor Brian Demmel.
Oh, yeah.
You can grow in age without getting old. Pastor Brian used to work at Lifegate. He now is in
Never heard of
Florida.
him. Yeah, he's in Florida now.
With his son.
Corey Demmel.
Yeah. Eating dove hearts.
Eating dove hearts and playing golf.
No, they're not doing that. Well, they might be playing golf. Probably not eating dove hearts, though.
Brian had a pretty strict diet, too. He was like all plant stuff. Yeah.
Really?
He like would not eat, maybe it wasn't just plants. I just remember being in a couple meetings with him where we had like Jimmy John's or something brought in, and he would like pick stuff apart and be like, he won't do bread, won't do But it wasn't just like I'm avoiding carbs thing.
Yeah.
It was like there's certain kinds of food that I just are not good. I don't think they're good for the body, so I just don't eat them. And I was like, wow, I was impressed. I was like, that's cool.
He's also a guy that would wake up every morning at like 4:30 in the morning to go play racquetball.
Yeah.
At Genesis.
I feel like at that age, though, just the more I talk to people who are much older than me, the more I'm like, I will be waking up at 5 and at 4 as the decades go by, because it just seems to happen to people.
Tim Hall, Pastor Tim, campus pastor at Midtown, said that the other day, so his son is a 6th grader.
Yeah.
And he said his son Lincoln has for years woken up at like 6, 7 in the morning.
Wow.
So Tim, to have his alone time with Jesus, he wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Dude.
And just goes out and sits and starts up a fire pit and just chills.
I need to talk to Tim, actually, because I have that exact problem right now with Isaac. He will wake up. Sometimes he's waking up at like 5:30, 5:45. And he's content if we just let him lie down in there. Sometimes he'll fall back asleep.
Yep.
Other times he just kind of like doesn't really do anything until about 6:15, and then he starts really fussing. But I can't do anything in the morning before my kids get up.
Yep.
Tessa, she's a rock. She'll
Really?
sleep until 8 sometimes.
See, Kian, it's rare because he always finds his way into our bedroom. Last night he came in there at around 12:30, and I took him back into his room, laid with him for a little bit, rubbed his head, rubbed his back. He fell asleep, and then I woke up this morning, and sure enough, there he was. So I have no idea when he came in there. But he always ends up in there. But usually if we wake up, he gets up.
Sure.
He likes the security of feeling you there.
Yeah.
So when we wake up, and now he's in a rhythm with school. He's in kindergarten. So
Yeah.
so he has kind of that rhythm. Nora, she pretty much every morning about 7 a.m. She doesn't really cry though. She just like plays in her crib, and then eventually she'll just start being like, "Daddy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy." I'm just doing that until we come in.
Used to go, "Oh, Mommy and Daddy."
That's awesome.
For like 5 minutes. And then when we didn't like go in there right away, she'd just get louder. Like, "Oh, Mommy and Daddy."
You go in there, you're like, why does your mom get the soft one? Why are you yelling?
Why are you screaming my name? It was so funny too, because we put her into like a twin size bed. We graduated her into a bed when she turned maybe 3. I don't know. But enough that I was like, she's physically capable of getting up and leaving her room, and she just wouldn't. She'd wait for us to come and get her, which I was kind of like, I'm down with this, because
then you have Kian. He shows up and just
I
comes
wake
into
up
our
one
bedroom.
day and Kian's just in my bed. I'm like, how did you get?
How do you even know where I live? I've never even met you. How do you know who I am?
Yeah. No, she's still that way. She's got a lot of autonomy. We've given her, I think, some autonomy there that I'm glad about. So we got a hatch light. Have you heard of these?
The things that make noise?
They colors? Make noise, but they also have they've got colors, and we set it so that we didn't have to always go in there and get her. Now it will turn green at like 7:15, which means you want to get up and come out, great, go for it. And half the time she won't, because she's not awake yet, or sometimes she's like, I just wanted to get up and play for a little bit, so she'll play in her room by herself, which is rare. Usually she wants like to hang out with me all day. But yeah, so now she gets up, and she knows that if it's before the light turns green, she's not allowed to come out yet. So go back to sleep or just kind of hang out in your room. But we set it at a time that's like roughly around when she would normally get up. So it's not like we're like every morning she's got to be alone in her room for an hour.
Yeah.
Sitting there going, when will the morning start? Yeah.
Let me out.
So.
Yeah, maybe talk to Tim about that, because he just wakes up and goes and has a fire pit most mornings. That's Tim's love language, fire pits.
Fire pits.
Yeah, he loves fire
It's one of mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to talk to Tim.
I do need to talk to Tim. He's a 5 on the Enneagram too, so am I.
Oh.
I've been meaning to ask him, actually. I'm going to pick his brain when I come back from sabbatical, just about how do you, because he's a campus pastor, and the campus pastor position is no joke, and part of the struggle of being a 5 on the Enneagram is you feel like you start the day every day with less energy than everybody else, and you're super conservative about how you spend your energy, and it's easy to feel like you're overwhelmed, and when you're overwhelmed, you just kind of shut down. At least that's been my experience, and I read about people having a similar experience who are also 5s on the Enneagram. And so I want to know. I'm like, hey, dude, you're doing it. Are you dying on the inside? Because
I need to sit.
I need to grow.
I need to sit and talk with my kids about the Enneagram because all I know is that I'm a 9, and I don't know much more.
I can tell you some of what that is a little bit, but not. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Here we go.
I know I'm a peacemaker.
I know about 1% about the 9. But who knows? Maybe it's enough to
lay the 1% out.
The 9s on the Enneagram, yeah, they're known as the peacemaker. They are the ones who will like chameleon around other types. So if they spend a lot of time around other kinds of types on the Enneagram, they won't look like 9s. They'll often look like that other type. They know how to like kind of fit in pretty well. Some of the things that 9s struggle with, so like someone else you would know who is also a 9 on the Enneagram is Caleb Kraft.
Oh.
Also Charity Long.
Pastor Micah.
Pastor Mike is a 9?
Wait. Pastor Mike Ballard is a 9.
Mike Ballard's a 9 with an 8 wing, I think I've heard.
I think Pastor Mike is a 9.
Funnily enough, Charity and her husband, Ryan Long, is also a 9. They're both 9s.
I want to know what Taryn is. I'm curious.
Taryn, what are you? We need to know.
Take the test.
Yeah. I honestly recommend, if you want to know more Enneagram stuff, like take a test, but the test is like a guess.
Yeah.
What helped me a ton, I took a test and then I learned more about the types. I read The Road Back to You by, I think, Ian Morgan Cron? I don't know. But that's like an easy enough read. And if you like to Audible, then Audible, it's a short listen, and it just goes through every type in enough of it's short but deep enough that one of those will feel like you got punched in the chest. You'll be like, oh my gosh, how did you know that about me? And when that happens, that's a pretty solid indicator that that's probably your type. If you don't know about the Enneagram, it's like think of it as like a personality test thing, but it really digs into the motivations behind why you do what you do. Not just, oh, you're this, therefore you do these things, but it's more why you do them. There are types that, so like I'm a 5. Sharon Miller is a 2 on the Enneagram. The 5 is often known as like the thinker, I think, and the 2 is often known as the helper. But her and I connect on so many things so often when it comes to what we're reading, what we're thinking about, what ideas we've had, or whatever. We do a lot of the things the same, but for different reasons, for different motivations. So you'll see a lot of overlap between types, but often the driving forces behind them are different. So anyways, the 9s. I can't remember the deep motivations for the 9, other than like I think like harmony and peace is a big one. Their struggle often is overcoming the inertia to just get up and do things, which is why I think it's hilarious that Charity and Ryan are both 9s, because I can only imagine the conversations of like, do you want to go on a date? Yeah, that'd be great. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. I guess we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually do that. But so just 9s, I think, can really struggle to overcome the perceived difficulty and the amount of energy it takes to just do the stuff that they need to do, whether it's taking care of laundry or work stuff or even hobby things like, oh, that sounds like fun. Oh, but that means I have to do XYZ first. Like, that can be really difficult, especially with conflict. 9s and 5s are similar in the sense that they will keep a lot of their like anger and frustration just inside and not externalize it. And so they'll be like smiling and nodding at somebody while also cursing them on the inside.
Hey, that sounds like me.
So that's the tiny little bit that I have heard and read about 9s on the Enneagram. But I'm by no means an expert, so.
You heard it here first from the Enneagram expert, Cole.
That's me. Follow my
Come to goal for your...
That's right. I'm now an Enneagram coach. You can hire me to coach you about the Enneagram.
Follow Cole's Enneagram Bookkeeping by Cole.
Cole's Enneagram Bookkeeping CrossFit Emporium.
He'll keep your books while lifting weights and while also telling you what's wrong with you.
We'll play Monopoly and get out the tech deck boards and
in a Spider-Man costume.
Yeah.
I recently had another debate with students at youth. Ellie Rake, who also gets brought up on this podcast a lot.
She does.
And Carly Molinix, they were telling me that I had a wrong opinion about Legos versus action figures. And I said, actually, you're wrong.
The end.
and then I left.
No, actually, you're wrong.
No, we had a debate, or not a debate, but they were like, yeah, it just sounds like you don't have patience. And I was like, and I don't. But I was like, let's put this in perspective. And I did the whole argument in the store. If we both are playing with a toy, you drop your toy, it breaks. And they're like, yeah, that's the fun. You get to build it again. I was like, that sounds awful.
That's an unnecessary amount of effort.
Yeah. I was like, I just want to play with that toy and put him on a Monopoly board. Build an empire. And they're like, I can actually build the empire, though.
That's dumb.
Stop it.
Enjoy being a contractor.
Legos are just being a general contractor for kids.
I used to take. Okay, so this is fun. Have you ever heard of a game called StarCraft?
Yes, I played it on computer.
No way.
Way back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, like a really
the
old
original.
StarCraft. Yeah, I was either StarCraft or StarCraft. Does StarCraft 2 exist?
It does.
Yeah,
StarCraft
or StarCraft 2, Age of Empires.
Yeah,
and then
you
Battlefield
probably
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Really random computer games, but that's what I played.
No, dude, I played StarCraft, and then they had an expansion pack, which was Brood War, and then Age of Empires all day long. So much fun. Loved those.
I was really bad at them, but I tried playing them because my brother liked them.
They're fun. There was the whole reason I brought this up. I used to take. So I also had Lincoln Logs, right? And I had Lincoln Logs and never really had Legos, and I was fine with that.
Yep.
I had Lincoln Logs. I had a bunch of G.I. Joes. And then you remember the Spider-Man action figure
Yep.
I used for the Monopoly things. And I said in a previous episode that came with 4 Dr. Octopus arms
Yep.
that were modeled after Spider-Man 2, the movie. Right?
Yep.
Those arms I could twist enough that they, with enough imagination, looked a whole lot like a Hydralisk from StarCraft, which was like a nasty monster thing, one of the units in the game. And so I would play this game where I'd set up a Lincoln Log base and I'd staff it with G.I. Joes and like guns and stuff. And then here would come the Hydralisk onslaught. And I only had 4, but I'd imagine it was like 400 of them, and it would just be I'd set everything up just for it all to be destroyed. And 9 times out of 10, the G.I. Joes all died.
Yep, of course.
And the monsters won. Or the G.I. Joes all died except for one lone survivor. And then it was his...
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. And it was his journey to try to sneak his way back to safety. Escaping the Zerg, which were the
in StarCraft.
StarCraft.
I have not thought about StarCraft in a long time.
That is low-key one of my favorite games ever. And it feels like a hidden gem because most people I know don't know about it.
So 2 things on the topic of video games.
Yeah.
One, in massive news, Grand Theft Auto 6 had videos leaked.
Dun, dun,
Somebody
dun.
hacked a Slack server or something.
Oh, wow.
And got a bunch of videos, and they are real. Rockstar confirmed that these are real leaks, and they're real things
leaks.
So, not only is this not a rumored GTA 6 footage, this is real alpha footage. And can I just say, some of this alpha footage looks better than some games that come out fully done.
Yeah, you showed me some of it, and it looks insane. The little bit that I saw is
the hair movement.
Real great looking.
Cole's look at the way her hair moves. Look at her hair. In another one, though, it shows a piece of clothing she's wearing, moving with the wind, and it's dude, these guys are next level.
Insane.
On another thing of games, there's a game called Human Fall Flat that my son loves.
Human Fall Flat.
And you play as these little wobbly pieces of meat. Basically, have you ever seen Gang Beasts?
Yes.
So it's similar to that, but it's a puzzle game where you play as something like that, and instead of grabbing things, you have control of your arms. You can grab things. You have to climb things, move things around.
Yep.
But in order to climb, you have to look up to raise your arms up, and then you look down to bring your arms down. So to do that, you have to look up to grab something, look down, and pull yourself up.
Yeah.
My son loves this game.
Yeah.
and somehow is actually pretty decent at the game. Like he'll beat levels by himself that I'm like, how'd you do this? That? But now my favorite thing to do with him, because I hate some of those levels so much, I have found ways to cheat in the game and beat the levels way faster than you're supposed to.
Yes.
So that's my new thing now. He and we will play the game, and I'll look for ways to cheat the level. And he has gotten it. And I'm like, he's like, Dad, stop cheating the system out. Is what he calls it. He calls it cheating the system out. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't tell him I'm cheating. And he's like, Dad, don't cheat. And I'm like, buddy, I need to make this clear. It's not okay to cheat. But in this game, it's okay. But he calls it cheating this. I say cheating the system. And so I'll look at the levels and I'll like see something and I'm like, I think I could get near the end doing this.
Yeah.
So now I found most of the levels. I figured out ways to cheat the system in almost all the levels that normally take a long time. And it's ways that the developers intentionally make it able to do it.
Yeah.
For example, there's one level where you get to a certain spot, and if you get on top of a wall, you could walk to the final checkpoint.
Sure.
And if you're on top of that wall, from there, so you get to this point where you get to these 3 like steam tanks, and you have to put a bunch of rocks in, and then light a fire and throw this fire in there, light the thing on fire, and it'll create steam, blow the top off this thing to get to the exit.
Sure.
Normally, you have to take a truck that in this game, you don't just hold a button and drive. You have to push the throttle up and turn the wheel with your stupid meat guy up a winding road, all while trying to also play with a 5-year-old. That's not included in the game. That's my experience.
That's yours.
Load up this truck with rocks,
Yeah.
drive it back down the windy road. And so it's really hard, needless to say, or it's really slow. I found that if you hop on this one wall that you're not supposed to get on and then jump on top of the roof above where these like steam whatever they are, there's a bunch of rocks above them, the exact amount of rocks that you need to beat the level.
Wow.
Right above them. So it's like the developer knows you can
put
cheat.
it there. Yeah.
And then just below that, rather than having to go all the way up to get the stick of fire, right underneath it, you can find another one underneath there. So it's like, I think they know that you can cheat.
Yeah.
And so there's just ways that's my new thing, is I find ways to cheat the system, in his words, out. Cheat the system
Cheat
out.
the system out.
So that's my new thing, is I try and find, and certain levels you can't, like you have to complete tasks.
Right.
But for the most part, I found ways to cheat the system in just about every level.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite thing now, because now the levels that used to take us 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour to beat, I can beat in like maybe 10 minutes at most. And I'm like, hey, buddy, we can play one level before bed. And he's like, oh, let's play another level. Last night, we got through 4 levels, in which typically would have taken us 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It took us 10 to do 4 levels.
Dude.
Like 10 to 15. And I was like, this is perfect.
I introduced my daughter to Mario Kart for the first time this week. And I won't lie, I was surprised at how poorly she handled steering. I do this thing where I tend to overestimate everything always.
All at once?
Everything always all the time. I thought this will be great. I'll teach her Mario Kart. I'll put on all the settings so like she can't fall off the edge and whatnot, and I'll just say, this is the go button and this stick will steer you.
Yep.
Just stay on the track. And she'll bump into stuff all the time, but it'll be okay. But we've been really intentional about, like, we're pretty guarded with her screen time. I have said no to video games up until this point. And even introducing Mario Kart a little bit is only because she's kind of got this tablet that has these little games on it, but we only give her like an hour a day on. I'm just really, really cautious about screen time. Yeah. And if I had more, I think, more patience and just more, I don't know, more in me as a parent, I would say no screen time, period. But anyways, I give her Mario Kart. And she would just hold the stick and drive in circles and get stuck on the wall over and over and over again. And I was like,
That's how Kean kind of is with the Hot Wheels game. We have a Hot Wheels game on my PlayStation that he'll play in very similarly.
Yeah.
Very similarly.
I always forget how hard some of the things are, especially I watched a whole video on it, actually. This guy was like, most games now are made for people who already play games. And there are unwritten rules in them that gamers understand. But if you're a non-gamer, you have no idea. And so he did a whole, it's a fascinating watch. He did a whole study where he like had his girlfriend like play all these games, and he was just going to take notes and give zero hints, zero instruction, nothing, and just watch her play. And it was like really interesting to notice the things that she was doing and thinking that are like not at all helpful. And as a gamer, you're watching, you're going, oh, well, you're not picking up that this thing right in front of you is a visual cue that you should be doing this and not that, or
if you find that video, send that to me, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Curious about that.
I will. There were a couple different games. The most specific example I can remember was playing The Last of Us. And in that early scene where you're like the very beginning of the game, you're running
with your daughter,
and there's a point where you're coming up kind of on like an intersection, and there's a bunch of debris kind of to your left that would immediately tell you you're not supposed to go that way. You're supposed to go the other way, which is wide open, and there's a ton of people running that way. The game wants you to go to the right, right? And she kept trying to go to the left, thinking this is a game where I can go anywhere, right? So I'm going to avoid where all the people are going to avoid the zombies, and I'm going to try to run into like these trees and over this debris, and every time you go that way, a zombie pops out and kills you.
Yep.
So she took that to mean I'm not going fast enough. So she spent like however many minutes trying over and over and over
rather
again.
than knowing that it's not an open world game, it's a game of handlebars. It's mostly open, but it's guided open.
Right, guided open. And even open world games are still guided open at the edges.
Yeah,
except
like
for
Grand Theft Auto.
Minecraft.
Yeah, that's true. There's no edges in Minecraft, which is nuts.
No, there are. I think.
Really?
Once you reach the like maximum distance, there's a point where, and this might differ between versions of Minecraft.
Yeah.
There's a point where I can't remember if they call it the other lands or the faraway lands or something. There's a point where the algorithm just starts getting funky, and all the terrain looks like Swiss cheese. Like it's weird.
Oh.
And that's like on the far extremes of the borders of the map. And then I think there is a point where if you go to the edge, it will not allow you to continue.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's been a while since I read up on how Minecraft maps work.
In other news about kids, Kian recently had a question for me. Another question. We're going to bring up Kian's questions.
Proceed.
So he at recess at school was running on the playground, and he was like trying to crawl up the stairs on the playground or something, and slipped, slamming his forehead into the corner of stairs.
Ouch.
Getting a massive bump on his head. It's a yellow bruise now. And
Dang.
but later, a couple days later, he was asking me, he said, "Dad, when you're at recess and you hit something, why does it win?" And I was like,
Why does it win?
yeah, okay, so you're just as confused as I am. So he kept saying the same statement to me. He's like, no, when you go and you hit something, why does it win? And I'm like, buddy, like, is there like a button you're pushing? Or like, what are you saying? Like, button push something, when you hit something, why does it win?
Yeah.
And he's like crying angry because he's like, you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, buddy, go slow. Tell me again. He said, so when I'm running and I fall or something and I hit something, why does it win? I said, okay, so like when you were running and you fell and hit the stairs, why do the stairs win?
Right.
And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay, you're looking at it as a video game. If
Right.
you and I are playing a video game and I'm fighting you and you hurt me
Right.
and I lose, you win.
Right.
He's saying, why when I fall and hit the stairs, do the stairs win?
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, dude, how did you think of that? Because he's saying like when I hit something and get hurt, why does it win? And I'm like, okay, so the stairs aren't real. They're real, like they're really there, but they're not a thing. Like they can't feel.
Right.
And so if you're gonna hit them, you'd have to hit it pretty hard for it to fall apart and lose. So every time you hit it, you're gonna lose and it will win. And he said, oh,
Here's the truth, son.
And
You're
I was
just not hard enough.
I was like, dude, how did you even think to ask that?
Yeah.
I've never once hit something and been like, oh man, why did that wall win?
Yeah.
Or like, why did this thing win? Or like, that's not indicative of me punching a wall before. I have. So just gave away a little bit of my past there, being angry. They're like, oh, Noah hits walls. Okay.
Noah punches. Yeah, there's holes in it. We're in his office right now. They're everywhere.
No, if I could punch a hole in concrete, that'd be sick.
Are these concrete walls?
These ones are. My side walls, that's drywall. I could maybe punch through that.
Kaboom.
That, if I can punch through that, I got a career ahead of me. I need to get into fighting because I'm going to knock a lot of people out.
Noah finally joins the WWE.
Yeah, no, I'd be in bare knuckle fighting. If I could punch holes in concrete, it'd be game over from people punching holes in concrete.
Boom.
That's my recommendation this week. Punch holes in concrete.
Punch some holes in some concrete. There you go. Hey, if my recommendation, creative project for you, if you've never mixed concrete, give it a try.
Dude, these recommendations are off the rails. The last week I said eat a Reese's and you said eat creatine.
Creatine. Yeah, dude.
But only if you drink a gallon of water.
Yeah. Do it well.
Cole, movie recommendation. Go. A Goofy movie, obviously, and the Batman, obviously.
No. You can't do that to me on the spot. I went to recommend movies I've already recommended. I was going to say Lord of the Rings. I already recommended that. Oh, my gosh.
Mortal Kombat, the new one.
Gross.
It's not good. It's not good.
Movie recommendation, movie worth watching is The Sandlot. Go watch The Sandlot.
Ooh. You know what? That I was going to say Into the Spider-Verse because it's just great and you should watch it. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? But with The Sandlot, go watch The Goonies.
Oh, yeah.
Great movie. Sandlot and The Goonies are great movies.
Those are my movie recommendations.
So, Sandlot and The Goonies and Into the Spider-Verse. Just watch all three of those.
Watch it.
If you haven't seen it, yeah, it's stupid good.
Dude, I saw a trailer. We don't have time to get into it. I saw a trailer for a show on Netflix that uses an animation style very, very similar.
What's it called?
To Into the Spider-Verse. I can't remember. It's like I cannot remember the name of it, but it's not a superhero movie. It's like a romantic story.
Oh, Intergalactic.
Yeah, Intergalactic.
Yeah, it's Kid Cudi's project.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
That comes out the 30th, which is what's today?
The 19th. Yep.
So like next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, next Friday.
I want to check it out. Honestly, I watched the trailer and I honestly thought, did Sony because they invented a new animation style.
Because it's like every shot you're seeing is like double the drawings or something like that.
Yeah. And they did it in a way that like if you pause at any moment, it's a still frame with no motion blur. It looks like a comic picture. Like that was the intention. But I wonder, and this is so out there, but I was watching the Intergalactic trailer going, this looks like this is a love story. All the characters I'm seeing are black characters, which makes me go, this is probably a story predominantly for like, let's tell the story of the main character looks to be a black man. Let's tell a black story. Yep. And I thought, did the Into the Spider-Verse animation style strike such a chord with Miles Morales' character and people going, oh, I love this, that we're going to see more shows that focus on, I'll say black stories because I don't know a more appropriate way to say that feature this animation style. Like, is that going to be a cultural thing that's like popular among art by black artists?
Yeah,
because I haven't seen any other art animation style doing that.
Honestly, even just looking at the bit for the trailer, and Kid Cudi has a song called Intergalactic. Yeah. Even just looking at the image for the trailer, it looks honestly almost more like video game like. Yeah. Than Into the Spider-Verse did. Anyways,
I'm really curious about it.
Yeah,
it looks
comes
cool.
out next week. I wonder if it's episodic or like what it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Music recommendation this week.
I've got 60 seconds. Can you do it in 60 seconds?
Oh, yeah. Here we go. 60 seconds. Intergalactic. What did I just say? Sorry. God dang it. You threw me off. No. Music recommendation. Cole recommended some worship stuff on the last one.
I did.
Listen to Hillsong's At Team Night album that they just released.
It's
all at their Team Night. It's very good.
Dope.
Very solid. They do a song called Secret Place / Goodness of God, and it's, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. So good. Listen to that. And food recommendation, go and go eat wings this week. Traditional wings, not boneless wings.
I know you said boneless, but I heard you say homeless.
Don't eat homeless
Don't
wings.
eat homeless wings.
I mean, we did talk about the Liver King.
Don't
Cole,
do it.
your food and music recommendations.
Music recommendation, go listen to a song by OK Go. But make sure you watch the video.
Oh, here it goes, here it goes. Here
Yes, any of those. They're great. Food recommendation, I recommend you sit down and eat a bowl of spaghetti, just plain old spaghetti with red sauce. And as you do, remind yourself, or discover for the first time, there is a whole sarcastic religion called the Pastafarianism, where they worship a flying spaghetti monster.
Yep.
I just want you to know that exists.
Yep. Also, go out and buy yourself a nice white T-shirt.
Yeah, do that.
And yes, we know you're wondering, Cole and I are still friends.
Yes. And
Even Stevens. Starring Shia LaBeouf.
Even Bleepins.
Wow. Go watch The Batman. Goodbye.
Goofy movie. Bye. Interstellar.
Hey, Back to the Future.